Most companies have one problem: not enough customers. Luxury brands have a stranger problem. They have customers, they have products, and they have an absolute rule that those two things must never meet, at least not at any price the customer is actually willing to pay. So what happens to the product? That is the question almost nobody asks, because the answer is not a sale. It's not a warehouse. It's something that makes no sense until you understand what luxury is actually selling. Imagine you are the CEO of a luxury brand. You manufactured too many bags this season. Demand was softer than forecasted. You now have £30 million worth of product sitting in storage. You have 4 options. Option 1, put it on sale, 30% off, move the inventory. Problem solved. Except every customer who paid full price now knows they overpaid, and they will never pay full price again. Option 2, sell it quietly through an outlet. Different zip code, different customer. Except luxury customers talk. The bag shows up in a Facebook group. Someone recognizes the model. The discount becomes public. Option 3, donate it. Noble. Until the photo circulates of someone wearing your £3,000 coat outside a shelter. That image does not look generous. It looks like your brand is worth so little that anyone can have it. Option 4, destroy it. That is the option Burberry chose, and Richemont, and Louis Vuitton. Not because they are wasteful, because options 1 through 3 are more expensive. In July 2018, Burberry's annual report contained a line item that should have been unremarkable. £28.6 million in finished goods. Destroyed. The BBC picked it up, then everyone else. Burberry was burning clothes, in an era of climate consciousness, while preaching sustainability on its website. The stock dropped. The CEO apologized. The practice was publicly ended. But here is what the outrage missed. Burberry was not uniquely evil. It was uniquely visible. Every major luxury house was doing the same thing. Burberry just had the misfortune of being a public company with reporting requirements that forced the number into the open. And the number existed because Burberry had spent a decade fighting its own past. The check pattern, once a mark of British heritage, had been licensed onto baseball caps, dog beds, and duty-free scarves until it became associated with exactly the wrong kind of customer. The brand spent years repairing that damage. By 2018, it had succeeded. The Burberry check was luxury again. But the structural problem remained. Excess inventory. Product that could not be sold at full price without reopening the wound. The furnace was not waste. It was brand protection disguised as waste. And here is where it escalates from bad PR to something genuinely hard to believe. Richemont is the Swiss conglomerate behind Cartier, Piaget, IWC, and several other watch brands you know. Between 2016 and 2017, they spent €480 million, not destroying their own excess inventory. They bought back watches that were already sitting in authorized dealer display cases. The watches were not defective. They were not outdated. They were simply not selling fast enough in Asia. And Richemont's leadership looked at those unsold watches and saw a weapon. Because in the watch industry, unsold inventory does not vanish. It migrates. Dealers, facing their own cash flow pressure, sell excess stock to grey market resellers. Those resellers list the watches at 30 to 40% off. And suddenly, every customer who paid full retail for a Cartier tank watches the same watch appear online for thousands less. Richemont did not wait for that to happen. They bought back €500 million worth of their own product. Then dismantled every single watch, movements removed, cases crushed, precious metals melted down for scrap. The scrap value was a fraction of what they paid. The alternative cost of training customers to wait for the grey market was incalculable. €480 million. Not a loss, a payment. the premium on the promise that this watch is worth exactly what the tag says. Louis Vuitton takes this same logic and executes it so quietly that it barely qualifies as news. Vuitton never discounts, not seasonally, not for employees, not at an outlet mall. You could work at Vuitton for a decade and never buy a bag for less than the person standing next to you in line. What happens to the products that don't sell? The bags are dismantled, the leather cut, the canvas shredded, the hardware removed and recycled. Every year, without a press release, without a number anyone can print. And this is the real lesson. Burberry got caught because the number was public. Vuitton made sure the number never became public. Same mechanism, different discipline. The sophistication is not in the incineration, it's in the silence. Burberry's mistake was being a public company with transparent reporting. Vuitton, tucked inside LVMH, never had to explain itself to anyone. Let me make this personal, because the logic only works when you feel it. You spend months saving. You walk into Hermès. You buy a Birkin for $12,000. You are not just buying a bag, you are buying proof that you belong to a category of people who do not wait for sales. Now imagine you open your phone a month later. Same bag, authentic, unworn, 40% off. The person who bought it on sale gets exactly the same leather, the same stitching, the same hardware you paid $12,000 for. The only difference between you and them is price. And if price is the only difference, then you did not buy a luxury good. You bought the same commodity as everyone else. You just paid more for it. That is what every luxury brand is terrified of. Not losing money, losing the story. Because once the story breaks, the price follows. And once the price falls, the customer who matters most, the one who pays full price, never comes back. This is why the furnace is not a cost center. It is an insurance policy. The premiums are the destroyed inventory. The payout is the continued belief that this thing is worth what we say it is worth. What looks like waste from the outside is discipline from the inside. Burberry's £28.6 million fire, Richemont's €500 million buyback, Louis Vuitton's silent dismantling operation. 3 different executions of the same cold equation. Destruction as price defense. The cost of destroying a product is always lower than the cost of letting the wrong customer buy it at the wrong price. Because in luxury, the product is not the asset. The price is the asset. And anything that threatens the price, including the product itself, must be eliminated. That is not wasteful. That is the hidden rule.